Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. Good morning, everyone. Wow. This side is packed. This side is looking pretty good today, too. Yeah, good. And I'm glad you folks online are watching as well. I'm Bob Renjilian, the minister of this congregation. If you're visiting here for the first time, we welcome you especially. If you're visiting here for the second time, we only sort of kind of welcome you. And if you've been here a whole lot of times, we're glad to see you. All right. We are about to start our service, but before we do that, I wanted to give you a couple announcements. You saw, for example, that the congregational meeting is between services today. We need a quorum count, so we're going to give you time to use the restroom, but come right back and be counted, and we'll have our quick congregational meeting between services. Anyone who is a voting member, we really need you here, and if you're not a voting member but you'd love to see what goes on, you're welcome to stick around and watch. That's part of us exercising our democratic process in this congregation. Tuesday, if you haven't done it already, Tuesday is how you go and do it out in society, election day. Don't forget, mark it on your calendar, put an alert, alarm, whatever, so you can exercise democracy out there as well. I wanted to give you a heads up, and I think you saw it on the screen, but in about 3 weeks, it'll be June. June 1st, we're going to have Wonderful Wednesday. If you've been around this congregation for a while, you know Wonderful Wednesday is when people get together for a meal, they eat, and then they get to hear a program. Our first kickoff program for Wonderful Wednesday will be our Minister Emeritus, Ernie Mills, coming to speak to us. And we're hoping that it's a grand event. We will be having sign up for the dinner part because we need to have a head count, but people can drop in for the presentation itself afterwards. No matter who you are, no matter how you found your way here this morning, no matter what kind of background you come from, no matter who it is that you fall in love with, we believe that this is a place that is open to the diversity and the wonder of everyone. Thank you for being here. And now I'm going to hand over the tablet to our worship associate this morning to continue with the service. So put this.
Good morning. The opening words are from Sarah Teasdale. Spend all you have for loveliness. Buy it and never count the cost. One white singing hour of peace. Count many a year of strife well lost. And for a breath of ecstasy, give all you have been or could be. Come, let us worship together.
I invite you to rise and sing as you're willing and able, hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
For the
invite them to say along with you. I'll light this while you do that.
Our chalice lighting words will be spoken in unison. They're from Deborah Burrell. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
The choir is going to sing two anthems this morning, one now and one in the offertory. The offering. The first one is kind of a sad, minor key setting of a spiritual. This, I feel like my time ain't long, where the song talks about I'm sometimes up and I'm sometimes down, I'm sometimes almost to the ground. He's speaking about his impending or his ongoing mortality. The second anthem that we'll sing at the offertory time is a 180 degrees opposite to that. These things can never die. It's things that never die. And it speaks, among other things, of the beauty and the word to those who are faltering, and love, and being firm and just and pure. These things can never die. That you'll hear at the offering. But now, I feel like my time ain't long.
Good morning. My name's Kevin Lausch. I work with the kids here at UUTC, and today we're going to be doing the book Beautiful Oops. And so we're going to be reading this wonderful book, but it'll also be on the screen, so you can follow along too. And this is a wonderful book by Barney Salzberg. So I hope we can think about it. So Beautiful Oops. Oops, a torn piece of paper, is just the beginning. Every spill has lots of potential. A bent piece of paper is something to celebrate. A little drip of paint lets your imagination run wild. A scrap of paper can be fun to play with. A smudge and a smear can make magic appear. A stain has potential if you play with its shape. Holes in your paper are worth exploring. There's even a little bug all the way on the inside. And when you think you've made a mistake, oops, think of it as an opportunity to make something beautiful. And that is Beautiful Oops. And I hope it'll help you think about beauty in this Maytime, nurturing beauty, and how we can all make something beautiful out of life. Thanks. And now, excuse me, Kitra will come up and we'll light our candle, and then we will sing out the kids.
I invite us into this moment of prayer and meditation. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here in this time come with our own ups and downs, mistakes and recoveries. Each step that we take in life, we know, may come with a stumble, a trip, a fall. May we remember that there are those around us who have done the same and picked up and gone on again. In this life, we need to send out our prayers for those who are in need of love and support. Our prayers in particular today go out to David Warner, and remembering to send good vibes. To Bill Kimsey, a joy that he is home. We also hold in our hearts those prayers and meditations that we have held silently in this time, perhaps not yet ready to say aloud, perhaps reflected silently in the candles lit here. Let us leave spaces open in our conversations with one another to learn more from one another about life's ups and downs. These things we now hold in this moment of silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen. Blessed be. Our offering this morning is for the good of this congregation, that we may be here, present in a community that needs us, because we need us as well. We also have envelopes in the baskets for Pisco Legal Services for our special collections, if you choose to put something in the envelopes for that. Because we're not just here for us, we're here to support our wider mission in our community and our love for Transylvania County. We will now gratefully receive the morning offering. Thank you, Gypsy. Thank you, Bonnie. What is given in love we receive with great joy, and we say, thank you. I thank Ginny, our worship associate, Ginny Rush, for finding readings and some quotes for this service. This particular reading, I'll come out and do here. Be with you all, not boxed up there. This particular reading's from Liesl Mueller. It's called Monet Refuses the Operation. I think if you've got the Soul Matters packet, you will have seen this or linked this as well. Doctor, you say there are no halos around the streetlights in Paris, and what I see is an aberration caused by old age and affliction. I tell you, it has taken me my whole life to arrive at the vision of gas lamps as angels, to soften and blur and finally banish the edges you regret that I don't see, to learn that the line I call the horizon does not exist, and sky and water, so long apart, are the same state of being. 54 years before I could see, Rouen Cathedral is built of parallel shafts of the sun. And now you want to restore my youthful errors. Fixed notions of top and bottom, the illusion of three-dimensional space, wisteria separate from the bridge which it covers. What can I say to convince you? The Houses of Parliament dissolve night after night and become the fluid dream of the Thames. I will not return to a universe of objects that don't know each other, as if islands were not the lost children of one great continent. The world is flux, and light becomes what it touches, becomes water, lilies on water, above and below the water, becomes lilac and mauve and yellow and white and cerulean lamps, small fists passing sunlight so quickly to one another that it would take long streaming hair inside my brush to catch it, to paint the speed of light. Our weighted shapes, these verticals, burn to mix with air and change our bones, skin, clothes to gases. Doctor, if only you could see how heaven pulls earth into its arms and how infinitely, the heart expands to claim this world, blue vapor without end. Again, that was called Monet Refuses the Operation. I have a couple extra copies of the Soul Matters packet, should those of you not on the list want one. We're going to have the discussion of the packet next week between services. To use this big gap between services effectively, we squeeze some things in now and then. Mostly, though, I hope you are drawn into this idea, from the children's story to the reading, the very idea that we can find beauty out of what life hands us. And we can nurture and appreciate beauty that emerges out of mistakes and losses and everyday life. How many of you have ever made a mistake? How many in this room or online right now have died from that mistake? No. I mean, there are mistakes there are mistakes that can lead that way. Running with scissors might, I don't know. Deciding that you want to climb an electric line, maybe. There are mistakes that we can make that we don't get to bounce back from. But there are things that happen to us as we age, as we go on in life, in which we look back and we realize there are things that have happened to us that have given us a chance to recover, to change, to apologize, to go back to someone and say, I'm sorry, that was wrong. I shouldn't have said it that way. That's what this sermon is about. I think back into my own life and the ways in which I have made mistakes and tried to learn from them, or something really awful has happened to me. This is the 10th year since I recovered from a significant car accident. It's the typical kind of thing that goes on. I was in the passenger seat while my child, who had a learner's permit, was driving. And my child turned left in front of an oncoming truck. First thing I did, okay, I'm still here. I got my eyes closed. And I reach over to the driver's seat and make sure he's still there. The truck, the pickup truck, had T-boned me. And they got the jaws of life, and they carved up my car and pulled me out, and I was in the hospital, and the children from the children's program at church made me this neat poster that the nurses put up in my room to get well better, Reverend Bob, and all of that. And people from the care team sent notes. And my family came, and I talked with my child. I said, yeah, no, that wasn't the right thing. No, you're turning left. The other person has the right of way. But I could have killed you, Dad. Yeah, but it didn't happen, so let's learn from this. Now, I can't say that everybody completely recovers from such an incident, but I did graduate from physical therapy, and I am up and around and able to do a great many things. And my child did go on to get a full driver's license and is off, successful in life, and it's behind us. Now, there are biblical characters who have been much worse than that. I mean, we could think of David, who later became King David, decided to break some of the 10 Commandments, such as adultery. Still ended up in God's favor, went on in life, became king, and still made mistakes. But, all right, made it through. Or we could think of Elijah, Prophet Elijah, who, as I remember, had a complete breakdown, was burned out, felt like the only prophet around, and nobody likes a prophet. Absolutely nobody likes a prophet. So Elijah just went off in tears, said, I'm all alone, and no one can support me. And went off and encountered God, and God said, I am with you. And granted that Elijah would feel a still small voice, so that in the midst of saying all the prophet-like things and being hated by everybody, would still feel connected. Whose mistake was it? Was it Elijah's mistake to get burned out? Or was it God in not thinking that a human being might actually need some support sometimes. I don't remember the Bible verse well enough to know if God said, "Sorry, Elijah." But God definitely corrected course and gave Elijah a little bit more to go on and make it. Each of us will find ourselves in tough situations, maybe not as bad as Elijah, but maybe just as bad, where we feel like we're isolated and not wanted. Some of you may remember out of history Paul Robeson, the great singer in America, African American, who eventually, like Elijah, decided to leave, left the United States entirely, found better welcome in Europe. Less prejudice, less animosity, and just as much appreciation for his talent, his voice. He said this, and it's a quote that's in our hymn book too, number 689. It says, "Sorrow will one day turn to joy. All that breaks the heart and oppresses the soul will one day give place to peace and understanding, and everyone will be free." That's a massively big statement, not only from somebody who felt exiled, self-exiled at least, but to turn it to one day will give place to peace and understanding. That's individual. And everyone will be free. So what I'm hearing from this is it's not only we make mistakes, we have the oops, we spattered some paint. Let's make the drawing like the photos in the pictures in the book said. Well, let's make it into a picture of something. Let's make something out of this mistake. But that the very act of doing this may in fact bring peace to the world. That everyone will be free. Because why? Because if we're stuck in our mistakes and our downness, it's not that fun. And we're pretty bound down and weighed down, and we're carrying a burden with us. And we haven't found the liberation we need. Religiously, we need that liberation. We need to remember people in the Bible have made mistakes. It looks like God may not have apologized but made a mistake and then corrected it with Elijah. It looks like King David praised all up into heaven, broke all the biggest rules, or enough of them. Let's just find a way through. From the Soul Matters packet, we have a quote from the person who has written on, studied, and conveyed so much wisdom about grief, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Said, "The most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their ways out of the depths. These persons have an appreciation, a sensitivity, and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion, gentleness, and a deep, loving concern." The quotes ended with the sentence, "Beautiful people do not just happen." So I'm looking out here at all these beautiful people. You didn't just happen. You stumbled and fell and skinned your knee or broke a hip or had a heart attack or grieved the loss of someone you loved deeply. You ended up, maybe through gritted teeth, forgiving someone for having done something awful to you. Or maybe you held them to account for long enough that they themselves could turn anew and found beauty in the way you held them to account. I don't know. But I see you, and I know that each one of you has a story of loss and pain and shame. And yet we're here. And we out of our our mistakes, can turn something beautiful. Use some imagination, some love. Connect with those who remind us we are wanted, even if we are the scourge of the earth prophet that we are in speaking what we said. Even when we've been on the edge of burnout. It's said that through life, people's faces get wrinkled with smile lines, and you know how beautiful they are with each of those wrinkles. Younger folks may say, hey, look at this scar I got. But the folks who know how to nurture the spirit, who have come through life, know as they look at one another, in the way in which we may hobble a bit, have a bit of a limp, cry at the sensitive moments in a movie, that we have known beauty and we have known how to make it through. May you find more of that. And the people around you, like these people right here, who want to hear about the candles, who want to know you, and from this know the beauty. I knew a Unitarian Universalist once who had spent a great deal of money on a brand new house. And the final pieces being put into place included a giant mirror which went from mantelpiece to ceiling. This was a 20-foot ceiling with skylights. And as they cranked down the last bracket, they heard a chink. And a crack appeared. That good Unitarian Universalist looked at it and said to the worker, I can do something with that. Leave it as it is. And brought back the contractor later and said, look. And along that crack, this member had painted a vine with flowers. As if it had always been intended that the focal point would be right there to draw your eyes up from the mantle to the vine and the flower, at the very top. I charge you with that level of Unitarian Universalism, no matter how much money and vision you've put into something, to go that step further. As a closing quote, I give you May Sarton. It's number 691 in our hymn book if you ever want to go back and find the quote. Help us to be the always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness nothing comes to birth, as without light nothing flowers. Blessings on all you beautiful people. Amen. In that spirit, I invite you to join with me, closing hymn number 124, Be That Guide.
Guide whom love sustains, rise above the daily strife. Lift on high the good you find. words of life. Be that help where nothing daunts, doubt a friend or taunt a foe. Never strive for liberty, show the path that life should go. Be that builder trusting good, bitter though the test may be. Through all ages they are right, though they build in agony. May that teacher faith direct, move beyond the old frontier, throw the frightened fear that faith be tomorrow's pioneer.
Throughout this week, may you carry the flame of this place and these beautiful faces with you. May you remember who you are even in the midst of the deepest grief. May you know that you are right up there with God and biblical characters and making mistakes and needing to correct your ways. And yet you are beautiful, you are loved, and you find your way back to this flame. We will leave this flame for our congregational meeting, and you will carry it into the good work you do. Blessed be. Amen.